Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Jane Warren podcast. And today I've got my second guest on season 2. I'm so excited. I have Marissa Warren, and she is joining. We are literally on our Zoom here recording this. Me from Toronto, she's in Australia. How cool is that? We are so excited. We're just catching up. So she is a hypnotherapist and transformational consultant. And as you know, I'm all about mind shifts. So she is going to share her incredible journey. She's going to share her journey into entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about so many great things and definitely touch on some mind shifts that she has made. So welcome, Marissa.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here with you today.
Oh, it's so great. I'm so excited to hear more about your story. Really exciting for both of us. We just spoke last week, 2 weeks ago, and this is probably going to air at the Women Thrive Summit. So that's how we're connected. And that's how I brought in so many incredible women on this podcast. So let's get into this. Let's get into your journey, your story. Who is Marissa? How did you become the incredible woman that you are today?
Yeah, I feel like that is such a long, multifaceted answer and a question, right? It's like I feel like for where I am today with my business and the work that I do, I feel like it's been an all roads lead in the right direction. So through life, like I had so many situations and event happen, and some of them were really not great at all. Some of them were, amazing. And I've lived a very full life. I've had a lot of experiences in my life. So I think that definitely has helped me with my clients now, because now when they come in, I'm like, there's nothing that you can do or say that will shock me. I've seen it all. I've probably experienced it. But, I think when you go through times in life where you have these moments where you're like something really bad happened to you, or you've made a series of choices and decisions. And I had many moments in my life where I felt like a little bit of like, I was going to swear, but like a little bit of a
You can,
failure.
don't worry. You
Okay.
could say
Okay,
fuck
great.
shit, whatever.
Well, like, I had moments in my life where I felt like a bit of a fuck up, right? I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like I should be at a different place in my life, or I should have this, or I should have that. And, I had all of these things, like I ticked off, like I'd had the relationships, I was engaged, like I had the house, like I had the job, I had the career. And I still like had this like feeling in my soul that there was something missing. And then 4 years ago, my dad died, and I just felt like my whole world imploded. And I had this moment where I just woke up and I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I looked at my life and I was like, life is so short. It's so precious. It goes so fast. Do I really want my next 40 years to be the same as my last 40 years? And I was like, hell no, I don't want to live like this anymore. So I packed up my house. I went traveling through South America for 4.5 months, went on like a massive soul journey. I sat with shamans. I did plant medicine. I like totally just immersed myself fully in the culture as much as I could. And I loved it. And it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. And I'd already started to kind of do the work that I was doing before I went. And then I got home, and that was when I kind of really went all in on my career. And I feel like the work I do now is a combination of work that I have gone through and journeyed through myself. And the modalities that I do with my clients are modalities that I embody myself in my daily life. And I've created like an amazing, I guess, unique offering where it's not just hypnosis, it's not just somatic embodiment, it's like a whole holistic package where we're really helping to create life-lasting changes, where it's not just like, yeah, I can fix your mind and I can fix you really quickly and fix this one issue. But if we're not really like creating that ripple effect between clearing your nervous system, clearing trauma from the body, and then empowering you with life-lasting skills and resources and tools that you can access, am I really giving you the best service possible? Or can I help to set you up to actually live your best life, which is what I love to help people live. So I really like to, I guess, give as many tools and resources to my clients as possible, because I believe that change comes from change, and you can make change easy. When you have more tools and resources to access, instead of having those like highs and lows in life, you can just return to equilibrium and just like navigate through life a lot easier. So that's kind of where I am today.
Oh my gosh, there's so many interesting things. And firstly, I love this little world travel journey, this little journey that you went off and traveled, took a few months. it resonates very much with me. I did that after I was in my career for about 10 years and felt the exact same thing. I was like, is she reading my mind? Like, is this my life? Because literally, except I had done it at the age of 30 and I was feeling the exact same. And I had actually, in episode one, I share that entire story and I sold all my shit. I packed up my bag. I had lived out, I had all my belongings were in a 75-liter backpack that was bigger than me. And I just traveled around the world and it was completely transformational. So
Yeah.
I very, very much resonate with that. And hypnosis and hypnotherapy, this is so interesting. So you said leading up to your travel, you had already started to get into, you already kind of maybe doing maybe some coaching, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about that? So did you have like a 9 to 5? Were you doing like a kind of quote unquote corporate job or what were you doing?
Yeah, well, I was in the beauty industry for 23 years and I had was like in management or sales or business development roles, national sales manager. I was like a campus manager at a beauty college. I literally had done every position in the beauty industry that you could do. And while I was in that industry, it's female orientated industry, but I was like so in my masculine energy and I'd always been in
Mhm.
like leadership roles or sales roles or whatever. So there was always like a lot of drive and a lot of push. And I just was so unbalanced within myself. And I first got in hypnotherapy because I started to have a couple of sessions myself. And then I went off and started studying. So before I went traveling, I was already like, I'd finished studying, I was starting to do clients. And my intention was that I would work while I was away because most of my clients are globally. But then I got there and I underestimated the quality of in some countries. And then I just was like, it's too hard to do clients because the internet was so unstable. And then also I was like, you know what? I think I also just really need to take time off life. So I just took time off from working for a while. And then I got back and I was still kind of transitioning out of my career into this full time. And then when I did finally make the leap to just fully go all into this, it was like the last 7 weeks, like the 7 weeks after making that decision, it was like my whole world just transformed. And I had all of these like opportunities come up and I've met so many amazing people. And it was like when I made that decision to completely clear my energy and get fully into alignment with what I feel is like my soul's purpose and mission, it was like the universe just conspired to open up all of these amazing opportunities for me.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I can totally understand. I think there's a lot of times we get disconnected from, as entrepreneurs, we start the journey, we start the hustle, and then we might go down a path and we might lose that connection to our passion and purpose. Have you ever experienced that before when, you were starting your business, or did you feel like real aligned? As you're saying things were aligning, have you ever lost that? Kind of gone astray a little bit before?
Um, I think when I have had moments where I've been doubting everything, where I'm like, what am I doing this for? I'm working so much. I'm tired. I've depleted myself again because, I've hit burnout before. And so I have to be really mindful and conscious of my energy depletion that I give to myself. And
Hmm.
when I'm not living in alignment with myself, when I don't have my daily rituals and my intentional living, it is easy for me to become out of balance. And when I'm out of balance, that's when I start to feel like I get overwhelmed and I'm tired, and then I start to doubt everything because everything is hard and it's like I'm not in ease and flow anymore. So, I try to work in with my cycle and rest at times throughout the month and really harness my energy, like depletion times and energy increase times. And really trying to have like, I guess, just define how life and business works for me. So I really try to not do a traditional 9 to 5 day. Some days I do really long days and I generally have meetings globally. So sometimes I will have meetings early in the morning or late at night, but then through the day, I'll go to the beach for a couple of hours or whatever. So it's like still having ease and flow in my day. So I definitely go through times of doubting what I'm doing, not because I don't love the work or it's not in alignment, but because I have let myself get out of alignment with myself.
Oh, that's so powerful.
Mm.
And similar to you, it sounds you're very in tune with, your energy, probably with your intuition and how you feel. I very much resonate with that. And I know in the last couple months, it's like my energy is feeling drained. And I'm really starting to realize some of the, as like a multi-visionary, I don't just coach, you know what I mean? I take on some consulting work. There's like lots of little things. I do this podcast, I mean, this fuels my soul. So this is energy, like energizing, I definitely always feel energized by this. But some of the other things that they are very much less aligned to my passion and purpose.
Mm,
They serve a purpose right now, right? They bring in consistent income. They put me into a good money mindset, like things like that. But I've really identified in the last couple weeks, why am I choosing to do this? Like, and also saying more so, I am choosing to do this. And I'm
yeah.
seeing how it's draining my energy, and I'm reevaluating it and thinking, okay, I know that things should and can be easy, right? What would be
Yeah.
the easy way? Where can I feel more in flow? This served its purpose. Say this contract I'm working on, it served its purpose when I started last July, say, but I've evolved a lot since then. I've got a lot of exciting things happening that I want to put my energy into now. So I'm like, okay, I need to, I feel like life is a constant reevaluation and getting in tune with yourself, because yeah, it can be challenging, like very challenging when you're feeling drained. I just shared a post about this today that I said I don't always have the motivation because I'm human, but also
Yeah.
we can't rely on motivation. That's going to come and go. We got to build the habits. We got to,
Yeah.
we have to get the discipline. So let's talk about in the last 4 years. So you've pretty much been, all into your business. What are some other challenges that you face? So you mentioned about like a little bit of imposter type syndrome. What is anything else that you faced, any challenges you faced with your business? Because I know when we go all in and we start something, it's like, I just went from senior project manager, program manager to CEO. And I'm like, oh God, there's a lot of things I need to do that I don't necessarily know how to.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've just onboarded a VA and a social media manager because I realized that to get to where I want to go in my business, I can't do it all. And also, I don't want to do it all either. Like, I really was enjoying not managing because I'd done it for so long, but I
Agreed.
really realized that I need team and I need support, and it's so important. So I'm excited to have them on board, which is great. I guess for me as well, I'm one of those people that I am a real creative. Like, I'm really good at birthing things and having things flow through me. And I'm great at birthing them, but I'm not so good at like mothering them and nurturing them to like old age. So I have all of these amazing ideas and I will like launch all of these things, but then I kind of like, oh, I'm on to the next thing, the next thing, and the next thing. So now I'm hoping with my team, they're going to help me to be more accountable and more on track so that when I'm in my zone of genius and I'm like birthing and creating things and offers and programs, now I have people that can help to support me to nurture my infant to maturity now to be able to really maximize the results. So I really feel like I need to work in my zone of genius. And I think the challenge for me is not being able to do that fully because, yeah, you are wearing so many hats. And it was like, I didn't do my bookkeeping for 3 months. So then it was like, I was feeling overwhelmed because of that. And then it was like, I haven't done my social media consistently. So it was all of these things were just snowballing, right? And when you are trying to do it all, and then things are happening rapidly and your business is moving and evolving quite quickly, I thought I had good solid foundations set up, but it wasn't until I had accelerated growth, which I guess everybody has within their business, right? Everyone says this. And then you realize like how much you have to go back to the start then to implement these solid foundations. And then onboarding a team as well, I was like, oh my God, getting stuff out of my head that I do on autopilot. It took me like 2 weeks to just even start creating like SOPs and be able to create documents to hand over to people. So I was like, this is a full-time job in itself, like inducting people into my business. But now I feel like, okay, the solid foundations are there. It'll be fine. You do it once, you do it properly, and it's done. So I think, yeah, wearing all of the hats has been really hard, and I've not worn them all very well. I will absolutely admit that. Yeah, and then I think just not being able to work in my zone of genius as well. Yeah.
I love that. You're speaking my language. I totally understand with the hiring a VA and getting help. I remember a couple years ago, I worked with a coach and she said, a great way to level up and to see yourself in, as your future self, my empire is not going to be built just by me. And so I hired a VA a couple years ago, even just at 2 hours a week. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because I actually work with a lot of VAs, and because there are a lot of VAs that are starting their business and like social media managers to, like you're saying, what we need to do in business, we need to lay the foundation, and I help them lay the mental foundations that are required to grow a business and to basically not give up, really.
Yeah.
All the mind shifts that need to happen. But it's really interesting. And what you said about helping you, level up in your business. When I hired my VA, and I just recently hired a new one who basically manages my podcast. That's her project. But it's amazing because she's on me. Like I'm with you. Like I try to be in my zone of genius, and see, that's where I've reevaluated my contract work. My contract work is my zone of excellence. It
Mm.
makes a fuck ton of money, which is very appealing, obviously, but it's my zone of excellence. Like I'm an exceptional project manager, but I am an even more of a genius in mindset work, right? In helping people create these mental foundations and helping people transform their lives. So it's really interesting. I'm happy you touched on that because I think we often, for anyone listening, there's like four zones that this is like, there's a book on this, The Big Leap, or multiple things on this, but multiple books on this. But yeah, there's zone of incompetence, zone of competence, zone of excellence, and zone of genius. And so your zone of incompetence is really just like, I could never do brain surgery. I'm never going to be a brain surgeon. That's just not going to happen. And then zone of competence is, things you can do, but it's like, no, you're just gonna hire someone to do that, which in your case too, you don't need to be doing all these little mundane tasks. You don't need to be managing
Yeah.
your social media. You can have someone remind you that you need to create posts or review content or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
then we've got zone of excellence, which is where, unfortunately, I mean, we need doers in this world. We need these people, but a lot of us stay there. And I stayed there for a long time before I realized my zone of genius. And really, that's kind of like the top 1% almost, they go after their
Yeah.
zone of
Yeah.
genius. They focus on their zone of genius. And you're so right. Like I catch myself, I'm like, okay, I need to hand this off, or this isn't my zone of genius. I don't want to be doing it. And so staying within that can be challenge,
Yeah.
like it can be scary and
Yeah.
it can be
Yeah.
challenging, but it's really cool to see. I like how, you've had the exact same perception that I do on it. And I think even funny with my VA too, like I just rebranded everything and like I made all the templates. Like it was funny, but I was in flow. Like I had
Yeah.
this past
Yeah.
weekend, I was so in flow. I just took everything she had made and I recreated. I'm crazy because I'm all into design. Like I think in another life, I was probably a designer. And so I love that shit, but it was hilarious because she was on vacation actually. So I was like, let me get this done for her. So I was like, okay. I check in with her. I'm like, okay, so I did this. Okay, now you can go do this. And I'm recording tonight. And I'm like, it's just so funny, but
Love it.
it feels good, right? To have some
Yeah.
help.
Oh, absolutely. I just was like, I just feel like instantly a weight lifted off me. And I mean, I think it's also that like release the need for control. Like I do also have moments where
Yes.
I'm like, oh, it'd just be easier for me to just do it myself instead of have to like spend the time to record a video, to go through it step by step. But I was like, no, because in order for me to get to where I want to go and to make the impact that I want to make, like I need to not be focused on this small stuff. Like I need to just do my clients, my creativity. That's the only thing I need to focus on.
Where did you learn? So this kind of focusing on ease and flow and this type of mindset that you have, like, how did you learn all this? Are you a self-help book junkie and you're just consuming all this? Did you work with coaches that taught you this stuff?
Yeah, I feel like it's been a combination of things. I remember my first management position that I stepped into, and my manager that promoted me was into Tony Robbins. So she, I guess, kind of introduced me to him. So I started like, I actually went off to one of his seminars, and then I used to crew at his events. And I went to all of these seminars, I read all of these books, but I still feel like there was like a missing piece. It was like, okay, I understand, everyone has your own resources, you can access these things and whatever. But I was like, there was still something not translating through to actually make long lasting changes. And it wasn't until I started to add in the hypnotherapy that then things started to shift. But then, in terms of like the ease and flow and working with energy, I think a lot of that started to come up when I actually started to do Tantra work. So I
Mm.
started doing Tantric embodiment actually when I hit burnout and I was completely numbed and depleted, like mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and I needed to rebuild from the ground up. And like Tantra was probably the only thing that actually helped me to start to come back into my body and restore felt sensations within my body. And, you tell people about Tantra and they have this preconceived idea, and it's like, it's not that at all. It's actually about coming home to you, to your body, to like feeling safe within your body and to feeling those subtle shifts within your body, like energetically and physically. And then I went off and did like a tantric embodiment facilitator training and did like a 2-year indoctrination in that. And it's just kind of been growing, I guess, from like my daily practices and rituals and yeah, working with many different people and really, I guess, tuning into me and using my own self as my own sat nav and compass about what is in alignment with me and what is out of alignment as well.
I love this. And yeah, Tantra stuff's so cool. Actually, someone had introduced me to it many, many years ago. And I know my initial thought, I was like, Tantra? Like what? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I think I know like where this is going, but it was completely different. This is before I knew anything about like the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, like being in tune with your body. Like I didn't know any of that. So, but I was so fascinated. Like I was
Yeah.
genuinely so fascinated. So that's really cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool that you do that. So what do you do like on a regular basis to keep yourself feeling like calm or not feeling overwhelmed? It really seems to me, based on what you shared today, that you run your business on your rules. Like I loved how you said you don't follow just a 9 to 5. If you've got space, but well, you will have space between meetings. You get out, go to the beach. How do you just keep yourself in check? How do you keep your mindset in check? I know sometimes we do have those feelings of burnout, but how do you
Yeah.
kind of manage that?
Yeah, I think working in with my cycle is a big one. And this month, it's just a lot happening, and everything was out the window. But really working in with my energy levels. And for me, my energy is my highest form of currency and my wealth. So if my energy isn't at a certain level and I don't feel like I'm at a certain vibrational frequency, I feel like it affects everything. Like I can't show up to my clients properly. Things are harder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not organized. So I really try to maintain a nice, clear, clean, and consistent energy. So I do that through like diet. Like I'm very intentional about what I eat. I do colonics and juice cleanses. So I start off just once a year and then twice a year. And now I do it every quarter. I'll go and do like a week-long juice cleanse and colonics. So I'm like always trying to clear and clean my body. I do energetic cleanses. I do cleansing with like a sweet and bitter bath. So I'll do like a full energetic process, like a full detox, and I'll detox from social media. Like I do every area of my life, I'll do a massive big detox at once. So that's nice to just feel like I'm clearing through things. And then daily, I try to maintain it through exercise and movement. Like if I don't go to the gym, I really feel it. So I try to make sure I schedule that in. Is I schedule it in as an appointment. So it's like in my calendar, I
Same,
can't miss it.
same.
And yeah, and meditation and breath work as well, and just feel like moving my body. And I mean, I've always got my dogs with me, so just spending time with animals and grounding in nature as well. I love to get outside too, and I love the beach. Like I was feel like I was a mermaid in a past life. I love it.
Oh, I feel like we are probably related in another life because all these things that you're saying, I'm like, okay. I can't even describe the feeling that I feel when I'm on a beach. Like I
Yeah.
am meant to be on a beach. I dream about if I think about my dream about a villa that's overlooking the beach, like it's like
Yes.
the water, there's water here in Toronto, not the ocean, it's a lake. But I walk down to the water as often as I can, if not
Yeah.
daily. Like it's and yeah, and it's interesting you brought up too about this could be a whole other episode on energy in your cycle. Like for women, oh my gosh, like we don't even a lot of women don't even realize like when I went off, I was on the pill for
Yeah.
like 20 years or so. When I went off of it, I did a mend your cycle course. I did a course on your cycle so I could better understand it because yeah, there's so much linked to that in how we feel. But I love that you gave so many good even little tips on what people can start to realize in their own life, your own diet. I think a lot of times people look at my lifestyle and yeah, I was a personal trainer. I still technically am. But they look at my life and like, oh my God, you're so healthy. And they've seen that through my, even in my career and so forth. And I'm like, it's not that I choose to eat based off how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
So, and I've been like that for a very long time. And so it's like when I would see what people would eat in the lunchroom and I'm like, you're going to fall asleep. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yes.
I just realized I'm so in tune with my energy and I fuel for energy. And it's like,
Yeah.
of course, I'm going to eat things that are going to make me feel alert when I need to feel alert and not boggle down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was in Vegas a couple of weeks ago for work. And America, it's completely different food to Australia. It's, different in itself. And I try to eat very healthily and I don't drink soft drinks or anything like that. But I didn't realize in Vegas that everyone smokes in the hotels and the casinos at the bottom of the hotels.
Ugh,
And so I'm like a non-smoker. So I
same.
literally felt like I'd like literally smoked like 8 packs of cigarettes by the time I'd left. It was awful. And then a combination of food. And I got home and I was like so heavy, like felt heavy and just drained. So this week I'm on a juice cleanse but it's like this is the first chance I've had to be able to actually like do a cleanse and take some time to like go and do personal appointments because I've been so busy, like literally got off the plane, was like back to back with events. But it really truly makes a massive, massive difference. Like even just the air, the water that you're consuming, like just the environment around you as well is like, yeah, everything needs to be intentionally in alignment.
I think what's important too for, I mean, any entrepreneur, new or not, is looking at how your energy is flowing and paying
Yeah.
attention to your energy. And like you said, intentionally putting things in your calendar or however you track your day. I'm the same way. I put my workouts in, I put my movement in, I put when I'm like, want to journal, like I live by my calendar and I
Yeah.
try to stick to it. And it's like you, if I don't go to the gym, I get out for a walk. Like for me, movement is just key. But for anyone listening, like maybe something else, maybe reading is something that you love to do or meditating. I also really got into in the last probably like a year, maybe more guided meditation. So, I'm don't feel so great at just sitting sometimes in silence and shutting my brain off, something I'm working on. But I like guided meditations. I listen to them before I go to bed. They help me fall asleep. Like, picking up on what works for you and what helps to
Yeah.
keep the mind calm. I mean, the calmer our mind, the more order in the mind, the more order we have in our life, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
So, before we wrap up here, what advice would you give? So, someone that, is an entrepreneur, they're hustling and grinding, they're feeling the struggle, it feels hard as fuck, because that's sometimes how it truly does feel. It feels that way for us too. So,
Yeah.
even though we're a little further along possibly, what advice would you give to someone that's, starting out and has their business and, no, how hard it is. You know how hard it can feel. What advice would you give to them?
Um, oh my gosh, I feel like there's so much. I feel like that's a podcast episode in itself.
For
I
real.
think your why needs to be bigger than you. Like you have to have a reason that's outside of you, that's a driving force that runs through you, that will be your motivator. So, on those days when you are tired and you don't feel like showing up, or you don't want to follow up, or you're feeling unmotivated, or you're self sabotaging, you have to have a why that is bigger than you. So, like for me, I'm like, okay, the work I'm doing is truly my soul's purpose. Like I want to help like raise the global consciousness. Like I want to be part of that rippling of the global consciousness and rising and helping people to step into living their best life and breaking away from this mainstream way of society living, right? So every day when I'm showing up, I'm like, okay, this is bigger than me. It's like beyond me. It's like a big impact that I'm here to make. But and not everybody will have a big impact that's huge like that, but you have to have, it could just be like you want to create a better life for your family or whatever, but you have to have a why that is not just self-focused on you, I think, because you need to have that driving force. Because if it's just all about you, you'll have days where you'll wake up and you're like, I'm tired, I'm going to binge on Netflix. Meanwhile, you've got clients you could be following up on, whatever. And also I think make change easy, and it's the small incremental shifts that you do daily that add up to big changes. So quite often people want to like just snap and be moved into a new life, but
Mhm.
it doesn't work like that. It's like it's these incremental habitual layer stackings that you do, and these habits that you're creating within yourself that take you to living the life that you want to live. Because if you think about your future life and or your future business or bank account or whatever your dream life looks like, right, there's a certain like level of energy and frequency and vibration. Like there's a different version of you that's embodying that future version of your life. So how can you bring that future version of you into your everyday life? Like how can you start showing up as that future version of you now, even if you don't have the bank account, even if you don't have the clients, even if you're starting out? How can you show up in life and in business as though you're already at that point where you are already at that level of success that you want? Because the more you can embody it and feel it and like really live and breathe it, the easier it is to create it.
Oh, preach. That was so good. That's so good and such great advice. And you're exactly right. Start small. I remember when I shifted from personal training, like a virtual fitness business, into life coaching. The smallest thing of, because I did personal training and fitness stuff like for the beginning of COVID, it was when COVID started, I wasn't, I love makeup, like I love it. And I always did, but I didn't really wear a lot of makeup because I was working out and doing all these things, right? Then I remember the smallest change, like when I started shifting into other mindset coaching, like even just putting on bronzer, drawing in my eyebrows, putting on some mascara again, like I was like a new
Yeah.
woman. I was like, here she is, she's back. You know what I mean? And it was
Yeah.
like that was a new, and it's this. There's the smallest things you can do, like even the home office space I created for myself. I resisted putting a desk in my kitchen. I don't know why. Like it was like because my kitchen served other purpose, and then I
Yeah.
realized no, my future self has a sit stand desk. It's in a bright space. My kitchen's the brightest place in my house. It's like it can be the smallest little things that we actually don't realize can make such a good impact. Then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I wanted to work at my desk. I
Yeah.
wanted to sit here. It's like,
Yeah.
and now I have my Women Thrive magazine cover on the
Oh,
wall. I framed it. So it's like,
I love that.
yeah, yeah. If you have anything like that, you put it in a frame.
I need to frame mine actually. I've got a couple of covers and I've got some more coming out this year and I've got them, but I'm like, I need to put them in frames. Like I need to start putting them up.
Do it. I love that. I've got a couple covers. Here we go. If she's not telling you what's possible for you, look at us cover girls here. My
I know, right? And do you know what as well? It's like when sometimes like I tell people like my life and what's happening, and I'm like, it doesn't even feel like me. Like it doesn't even seem like my life and my business, right? But then, and I talk to amazing people like you, and it's like it really hits home that it's like we're just like normal people. Like I started where I like now I am where I want to be, and I'm still so much further that I want to go. But like when I look back and I'm like, oh, I started with nothing. Like I started like going through multiple businesses before I found the one that I wanted. Like I've started like going through all of this process. Like everyone's just a normal person who's just decided to take action and keep going and keep moving forward.
Oh, 1,000%. And the conversations I have in DMs with women, and I'll share something with them and they're like, wow, you're so like normal. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah. Did you think I was like, and it's funny because I'm very much what you see is what you get. So I don't sugarcoat
Yeah.
shit. Like it's like my brand is me. And so it's funny. I'm like, okay, well, did you like think something different? Or they almost think because they idolize me, which is beautiful. It's so exciting. And they're like, you're my dream coach. Or like,
Oh,
they're like, they just really look up to things that I'm doing. And I'm like, look, if I can do it, you can do it. Like,
yeah.
if you have the right mindset, you will get there. All right. So tell us, Marissa, where do you show up? What do you got going on right now? I want you to share with everyone.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I'm on all of the socials. If you pretty much go to all of them and type in my name, you'll find me. I'm probably most active on Instagram. What have I got going on? So I've got a little free program that I can give you guys. I'll send the links through and you can drop them in. I
Perfect.
just had a book launch yesterday, actually, and it's already gone to like #1 on Amazon in US and Canada, which is like amazing.
What?
Yeah, yeah. So it was like a co-authored book. So that was pretty exciting. And I've got my first solo book launching in August as well, called Elevate. So I'm frantically finishing off my manuscript. So that's my Easter weekend. And then I've got three other co-authored books coming out this year. And yeah, I have a lot happening this year. So check me out on socials because it's lots coming out all the time. Like there's always more stuff happening.
Holy jeez, we need to have a separate Zoom call on all this. Oh my God, she just dropped that she's gonna book this #1. I'm like, and we're wrapping this up. I'm like, so many questions. Anyway, okay, so I will have every single link. All the things will be in the show notes. You've been fabulous. You're beautiful. And thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for being a guest on my show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're so